One thing that I've noticed after talking with more than 100 founders in the last 9 months or so is this. When someone tells me they regret selling their business, they almost never say they didn't get enough money. That's what most people expect. Instead, the regrets sound something more like, I wish I'd started planning earlier, or I wish my wife and I had talked about what life would look like afterward. Or it could be something like, I wish I'd known then what I know now after being through this process. That's my story. Hi, I'm Ryan Guth. I sold my own business years ago, wrote a book called Permission to Exit, and today I help founder-led business owners walk through one of the most important transitions of their lives. And over the years, I have learned this. It is not what you make on the deal, it is what you keep. Not only financially, but think about things like relationships or your purpose, maybe even just your peace of mind. So today I want to walk through a couple of the biggest regrets I see owners have after selling their businesses, because both of them are avoidable if you start early enough. And if while you're watching this, you realize you're within a year or two of thinking about a sale, there's a link below where you can schedule a conversation with me. It's no pressure. We'll simply talk through where you are and whether there are some things worth doing now while you still have time. So let's start with the first regret. The first regret is waiting too long to prepare financially. So founders don't wait because they're careless. They wait because they're busy. They're doing the exact thing that makes them successful, right? They're working on their business. They're still driving the growth, right? Leading meetings or just maybe closing those more major customers. A lot of times they hold the key relationships in the business. And if they're honest, they kind of enjoy it. They've built a company that allows them to do more of the fun stuff. Don't we all want that problem? The problem, though, with that is that preparing for a business sale isn't another project you can just kind of stack on top of everything else you're already doing. You can't run a growing company while simultaneously managing your own mergers and acquisition process, responding to due diligence requests, coordinating with your CPA, your estate attorney, your valuation firm, and your personal financial plan. That's like an astronaut who also tries to build the rocket and command mission control themselves. I just have a feeling that Houston may be getting a phone call, if you follow what I'm saying. The best exits not only have a plan, but have a team to execute all the parts. So I think about it like this. Imagine you're taking your 50-foot boat out into open water. Everything feels calm while you're in the harbor, but eventually you're surrounded by massive commercial tankers. Those larger ships aren't slowing down because you're not prepared. That's what selling to a sophisticated buyer often feels like. Private equity firms and larger strategic acquirers have entire teams dedicated to evaluating every detail of your business. They're used to doing this every day. For most founders, it's the first time they've ever sold a company. That's why planning while the water is calm matters. Not once you're already surrounded by the big ships, if you know what I'm saying. One of the biggest mistakes I see has nothing to do with negotiations. It's the kind of the boring work that just doesn't seem to get done beforehand. Think about things like tax planning. We all pay too much in taxes. Estate planning, structuring ownership, preparing trusts, right? Coordinating with legal advisors. These are not really exciting conversations, but they're the ones that help you keep the most money post-sale. And here's something many owners don't realize in my experience. Once a serious letter of intent to purchase your business arrives, there are certain tax and estate planning opportunities that just disappear. That window closes because a buyer has inadvertently valued your company for you. Valuation experts have to take this into account when valuing your company's shares prior to using the tools that we have at our disposal to save you on taxes now and in the future. That's why I often tell owners I'd rather meet them 2 or 3 years before they think they'll sell, more than 2 or 3 months beforehand. The runway changes what's possible to accomplish. Another part that people underestimate is coordination. Many successful business owners already have decent professionals. They have a CPA or accountant. Maybe they have the estate attorney that they did their basic will or trust with. Maybe a financial advisor who works on their company's 401k. Sometimes a buddy who's an investment banker. The challenge isn't always like finding good people. It's just getting all those people moving in the same direction at the right times. Honestly, I feel like I spend a surprising amount of my time quarterbacking everyone else's work. I'm following up, I'm keeping the timelines moving ahead, I'm making sure that conversations happen in the right sequence between the right people. I sometimes joke to myself that I am the chief revenue officer of everybody else's firm because I'm constantly keeping things moving forward. You know, somebody has to own the process. Thank goodness for me. If I didn't do what I do, these poor people would never get paid. I see this all the time. A new client comes to me and their existing professionals are doing their individual jobs. Nobody's coordinating this outcome, right? The quarterback role is central to my planning philosophy. So I've got this question for you. If someone brought you a serious offer next quarter, would your personal financial plan, your tax strategy, maybe your estate plan, already be ready? Or would you spend the next several months scrambling? The answer tells you more than you might think. So let's talk about the second regret. I think that this one matters even more than the first. The second regret is never having the conversation at home. Selling a business is not only a financial transaction, it's a family transition. So one of the first conversations I encourage owners to have has absolutely nothing to do with valuation or which trust structure to utilize. It is very simply this. What does life look like after the sale for you and your family? Will you be staying employed? And if so, how long? Will you be CEO under the new ownership structure? How about, are you going to be an advisor? Are you just going to work part-time because you feel like working part-time? Are you going to be like, boom, clean exit? So these are terms that are often negotiable, but it is difficult to negotiate confidently if you haven't first decided what you actually want, especially with your spouse. I've noticed something sort of creeping in over the years, and by the time many of my clients reach this stage of life, they don't really have money problems anymore. That's the least of their worries. They actually have identity problems. They have relationships that need nurturing. They have post-exit purpose questions. And they have to relearn financial stewardship because it now feels very different. These are the real issues that my clients deal with because no amount of money fixes that stuff. I'd venture to say that adding money to unresolved issues makes them worse. So I've watched owners spend years building really incredible businesses while unintentionally neglecting conversations that mattered more. So, you know, what's the family look like after this? Where do we want to live? Are we going to make a change there? How much are we actually going to work? What kind of parents or grandparents do we want to become? What does our purpose become when the business no longer needs us every day? These are not spreadsheet questions. These aren't financial planning or software questions, right? These are heart questions, and they shape the success of an exit more than the purchase price. Remember Scrooge McDuck diving into his vault full of gold coins at the beginning of DuckTales? Did you ever meet his wife? I didn't think so. One thing I tell owners relatively often is if your spouse and I have never sat in the same room together, we are missing something very important because I can help coordinate the financial plan, help you save on taxes, and run a smooth process. I got that. That's what I do, right? That's easy. But if the two of you are not aligned before this transaction, that is a heck of a lot harder to fix afterwards. No second home, no boat, no luxury vacation will ever replace being aligned with your spouse, your family, your values, and the purpose you believe you've been called toward. Money is a wonderful tool, but it is a terrible substitute for healthy relationships. And no AI or robo-advisor is ever going to help you navigate that conversation because it's a human conversation. Maybe I'll eat my words, but if you take nothing else away from this video, remember these two questions. 1, am I preparing early enough financially? And 2, have we actually talked about what life looks like afterwards? Because those are the two questions that seem to separate owners who look back with confidence and those who carry regret. Now, if your business is profitable, like more than $1 million in EBITDA, and you're thinking about selling sometime over the next few years, I'd encourage you not to wait until the process has already started. Let's have the conversation while there's still time to shape the outcome. There's a link below where you can schedule a conversation with me. I'm not going to sales pitch you, okay? You have no obligation to me. This is just an opportunity where we can think through where you are today, where you'd like to go, your financial plan, your family plan, and where you are on actually working this out together. So I appreciate you watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks.